You are Locked On Nuggets POSTCAST, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It is your Locked On Nuggets postcast. Hope everyone is doing well out there, because that is a game that you can chew up and spit right out. Uncompetitive tonight were the Denver Nuggets, but not to make excuses. No big fella, no big honey who dealt with an injury during his warm-up today, and no Aaron Gordon. So Denver's undefeated streak on the second night of a back-to-back comes to a close as they lose tonight to the Houston Rockets, who are a good team. I believe second place right now in the Western Conference as well. An up-and-coming team, but also a team that's excelled this year with some of the young players that they have. Your final score here tonight, 128-108. It is a 20-point loss for the Denver Nuggets, which like I said, I caught the first couple of minutes here of the Altitude post-game show, and, they're all kind of just chalking it up to no Jokic, no Gordon. I tend to agree with that as well, especially when no Nikola Jokic, that announcement, they went into the day today, did the Nuggets, you would think, expecting the big man to play tonight on the second night of a back-to-back, and then ruled out after feeling some discomfort in his elbow during his pregame routine. Let me pull this up here for you guys. I know my boy Jake Shapiro's got us covered. Saw him tweet something out. Shap's always really good with the information. So yeah, here's what Jake Shapiro, 104.3 The Fan. Here's what he said tonight on Twitter. Make sure to follow him at Shapalicious. He says some details. Jokic warmed up before the game with a sleeve on his right arm, which is unusual. I can confirm that. That is pretty unusual. I've watched hundreds of Nikola Jokic warm-ups at Ball Arena in my career. He also cut his standard workout short, which could be because Denver is playing on a back-to-back, or perhaps because something was bugging him. So we don't know the full extent of what Nikola Jokic is dealing with. He looked fine last night against Dallas. Triple-double for the Joker. I know he wasn't, putting the ball in the hole as much as we're accustomed to seeing him do. Only 10 points last night for Nikola, but he was ultimately ruled out like 30 minutes before this game started. I remember I was finishing up at the gym. I was actually getting ready to open up my FanDuel app and do a little parlay, and the odds locked right in front of me. I'm like, well, that's weird. Is Gordon playing? Like, is that what that was? And I open it up on social media, and boom, there it is. No Nikola Jokic here tonight. So let's take this game with a grain of salt. I understand you want to see more out of Russell Westbrook and, all the guys that played. Jamal put up 22 tonight. You're happy with that, after the 48-point effort from him last night. But, it's one thing to be able to mentally prepare for not having the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic, leading up to the game in the morning, shoot around, team meetings, all that kind of stuff. It's another thing when you find out, essentially moments before the game starts that he's not going to play. I'm sure that probably affected some of the psyche here with this Denver Nuggets team. And I know some people, we have some Malone doubters, some Malone haters that like to listen to the show. Here's what I will say. Yep. And there he is, Daniel Miller. Are we ready to talk about Malone's future? Absolutely not, brother. The one thing that I could say about Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets in general, and really the NBA in general, is I've covered every professional sport in this town. I'm been credentialed with the Avalanche, Broncos, Buffs, Rockies, Nuggets. Nuggets have actually been my longest. I started with them almost 10 years ago now, believe it or not. And the one commonality, not just with the Nuggets, but the thing that I've noticed in the NBA is teams sometimes take nights off. I mean, there's just some nights where they're not into it. And I'm not saying that's exactly how Denver went into today, but I think, when you find out that Nikola Jokic is not playing, you feel a little deflated, right? And second night of the back-to-back, you're tired, exhausted, even though they've been good. They were 8-0 on the second night of the back-to-back entering into this matchup today. A weird kind of schedule as well, because let me see here real quick. I believe they fly out tomorrow morning for a road game. Yeah, they'll be at Miami now on Friday. So kind of got to go across the country. So look, this was a typical letdown spot. It would have been interesting. I was very excited for this game tonight. Had Nikola Jokic played, obviously no Aaron Gordon tonight, but as I mentioned on the show last night, you want to probably proceed with caution when it comes to Aaron Gordon. He still hasn't been inserted back into the starting lineup. So, not that it's a shocker that Aaron Gordon didn't play tonight. So At the end of the day, though, man, right calf injury management is what Gordon was listed out with tonight. So you kind of come to expect that, as I mentioned there on the second night of the back-to-back. But no Big Honey, that's going to affect some things. But this was an interesting gut check game for Denver had Jokic played. And again, I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just telling you what I know and what I've witnessed and learned from being around the NBA for almost a decade now, is that sometimes teams take nights off. And I feel like the NBA is like the hardest sport for guys to play a full season in regards to energy and effort, right? Baseball, you probably have a couple, a big baseball guy that happens every now and again, but there's just some nights where you kind of just chalk it up to we didn't have the juice tonight. And obviously, if Nikola Jokic plays and it's the same outcome, different conversation. But the fact that Big Honey was not out there, I think really affected the overall psyche of this team in this game here tonight. So your final score tonight, 128-108. Some good, I guess you could say. Christian Braun, wheeling and dealing, made his first 10 shots in this game. So he came out firing. He finishes with 22. That might be a season high for CB now that I think about it. 2 of 3 from 3. So you like to see him hitting his shots from beyond the arc. We know that was a big, big struggle for him in the month of December. So nice to see Christian Braun getting the job done. From 3-point land, 10 of 11 from the field. 5 rebounds, 1 assist. I actually have this pulled up, so I'll play it again if you missed the show last night. I have the clip from Matt Moore and Ryan Blackburn talking about Christian Braun and the starting lineup dynamics. So I'll play that here before we go to break, just so we can kind of rehash those thoughts. But, you see why Denver wants to keep Christian Braun in the lineup essentially at all costs, because he's a young player, obviously, but he was a part of that championship team, played a critical role coming off the bench. And Denver feels like he is a legitimate part of this organization moving forward. So nice to see CB pop off tonight. Jamal Murray doing his thing from a scoring department, 22 points, 4 of 5 from 3. That's really encouraging. 8 of 14 from the field. He had 5 assists, 5 turnovers. That was the Achilles heel of this Denver team tonight. Not only not having Nikola Jokic hurts, but when you're playing sloppy basketball throughout the course of the game, and I don't think Denver led in this game at all. I think this was a wall-to-wall loss here. Let's check that out for you. Yeah, Denver never had a lead in this game. So that's why I put stomped in the thumbnail on YouTube. Because that's exactly what happened. Denver just had no will, no desire. With this Denver Nuggets team tonight. So it is what it is as they ultimately lose tonight, 128-108 to the Houston Rockets. Really not a lot outside of that to talk about. 17 points tonight for Russ. He shot the 3-ball decent, 3 for 5. You'll take that from Russ. 17 points he finishes with. DeAndre Jordan with a 0 burger as a starter in his 23 minutes played. Michael Porter Jr. only had 8 points as well. So, with no Jokic, it's going to kind of start, and no Jokic and no Gordon, it's going to kind of start and end with the production from a scoring perspective that you get from Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. And Michael Porter Jr. laid an egg tonight. 0 of 2 from 3, 3 rebounds. No assists, and the 3 rebounds are, essentially half of what he's averaging this season. He only played 24 minutes. So I guess the silver lining is you got some extended minutes for some of the young guys, right? Julian Strawther played 25 tonight. Peyton Watson had 23 minutes tonight. Dario Saric, who's been kind of a ghost, 19 minutes tonight, kind of out of necessity. Jalen Pickett with 18 minutes tonight, didn't really impress. But again, if Denver's gonna, try to develop these young guys, the key to doing that is extended playing time and extended minutes. And so kind of in a throwaway game like it was tonight, might as well, let the young guys do their thing. So they got some experience, they got some run, but again, this is just kind of a stinker type of game for Denver. Not a whole lot from a long-term perspective that I think you can take away from this loss here tonight. So it is what it is. It happens. All right, let me play this clip real quick because I think it's relevant tonight with Christian Braun doing what he did. So I played it last night as well. So we'll rehash that. But here's Matt Moore and Ryan Blackburn from an earlier episode of the Locked On Nuggets podcast from probably Monday, I want to say, or maybe Tuesday it came out, talking about the starting lineup and what Denver's kind of working with here. So here's this clip. We'll come back, hit a break right after that.
Christian Braun, in my opinion, this is an opinion thing it's an educated opinion based off of conversations, is never, ever leaving the starting group. They believe Christian Braun is the future. That has the backing of not just the front office. Maybe the only thing that the coaching staff, front office, and ownership agree on is Christian Braun. That might be the only, and Jokic is good. Those two things are the only two things I think that they agree on. So Christian's not going. Okay. And so then it becomes, all right, well, Christian's not going, and MPJ's not going, and Aaron's not, and MPJ's not traded. Like, MPJ's still there, and Aaron's not going, and Jokic is obviously there. It's either Jamal or MPJ. So you're talking about benching one, either a max player or a player on a near max for Russ.
And that conversation, as you can tell by the end there, is more so centered around the idea of trying to get Russell Westbrook some more minutes, which I have advocated for about the last week now. I mean, just the way that he's been playing in the starting lineup with this Denver Nuggets team, or with the starting lineup rather, with Jamal being banged up and just kind of getting some extended run out of necessity there. We'll see. Obviously, it didn't make a difference here tonight, but point being, the reason I wanted to play that clip is because when Christian Braun is on, man, you see why Denver feels the way that they do about Christian Braun. Based off what Matt Moore was saying, who I trust a ton when it comes to the NBA information. And again, 22 points tonight for CB, 10 of 11 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3. Love to see that. Came out making his first 10 shots. So absolutely love to see it. Okay, let me hit my first break. When we come back, we'll continue along with the conversation. Michael Malone's on my screen. Looks pretty disgruntled after this lawsuit tonight. Denver actually shut the ball all right. At least from 3 in the attempts that they took. So we'll continue breaking down this game a little bit. Drop some comments, guys. Let me know how you're feeling out there. Any thoughts, opinions that you want to get off your chest, go ahead and drop those in the comment section. We'll go back and forth. This is kind of a free-for-all tonight as the Denver Nuggets lose to the Houston Rockets. Your final score tonight, 128-108. All right, let me hit my break. We'll come back and do just that right here on your Locked On Nuggets postcast. Back in just a moment, folks. All right, you guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Hungry Root. When it comes to grocery shopping and meal prepping, I've had this ongoing problem. I just don't have the time. Boy, oh boy, do I not have the time. I eat out way too much. But between work, life, and trying to eat healthier, I was constantly feeling stressed out. I'd go to the grocery store, buy things I didn't need, and then end up with no time to actually cook. And sticking to my health goals, that was a struggle too. But everything changed when I discovered Hungry Root. Honestly, it's been a game changer. It's the easiest way to eat healthy without all the stress. With Hungry Root, it's like having a personal shopper and a nutritionist all in one. They take care of my grocery shopping, recommending my meals and groceries based on my tastes and health goals. From anti-inflammatory to high protein and gluten-free options. And the best part, every meal is ready in 15 minutes or less. I'm talking quick, healthy meals that actually taste great, all delivered straight to my door. It's been a huge time saver and has made eating healthy so much simpler, guys. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as I do. For a limited time, get 40% off of your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/lockedonnba and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's hungryroot.com/lockedonnba, code LOCKEDONNBA to get 40% off of your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/lockedonnba, code LOCKEDONNBA. Don't miss out. Be sure to check out our friends over at Hungry Root and let them know that Locked On Nuggets sent you. Okay, welcome on back into your Locked On Nuggets postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro. Hope everybody is doing well out there on this Wednesday, January the 15th. If you're watching live on YouTube, appreciate y'all. As always, do me a favor, though, if you could, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button on your Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. That way you guys never, ever, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Nuggets postcast hosted by yours truly. You guys can also follow me on social media at Media by AP. Let's take a look at some of the numbers here for Houston real quick. I mean, Jalen Green picked them apart tonight. 34 points for Jalen, 10 of 16 from the field, 6 of 10 from 3. I mean, he popped off a plus 13, the box plus minus. I mean, that's kind of what it is. Fred VanVleet, kind of the veteran of that team. He had 16 points in his 35 minutes played, 4 of 9 from 3. So he lit it up from beyond the arc as well. Just under 50% from there. Alperen Sengun, 20 points. Dylan Brooks didn't do much, and Eamon Thompson only 11 points. But those 50-plus points from Jalen Green and Sengun, and really the 16 that you also got from Fred VanVleet, really is what helped establish this lead for the entirety of the game for the Houston Rockets. And Cam Whitmore off the bench added 16 of his own. So, it was a non-competitive game tonight for the Denver Nuggets. I mean, that's kind of the simplest way that I could put it. Denver actually shot the ball pretty well from three. Not pretty well, like really well. They only took 29 attempts, though. They hit 14 of them. So they were at 48.3% for the night, shot at over 50% from the field as well, 40 of 75 for 53.3. But, when you look at the discrepancy in the shots taken for both teams, I mean, that's the thing is Houston essentially matched Denver in regards to percentage, but on a higher volume of shots. I mean, Houston shot 42 or 52.1% from the field tonight. They took 94 shots compared to Denver 75, and they shot 44.7% from three, hitting 17 of 38. So 38 attempts compared to Denver's 29. So essentially 10 more attempts from three. And, they only hit three more than Denver did in that instance. But, that it's a volume game at that point. And we know that Denver is actually the problem with Denver's 3-point shooting is not the shooting itself. It's the volume of shots that they take. They actually make the 3-point shot at a pretty efficient rate, upper echelon in the NBA. But they just don't take as many as these other teams. And I think it was today I don't know if he was live today or if I just saw the clip today. Adam Silver was on Colin Cowherd's show earlier this week, kind of talking about how they want to try to reinvent some of the game a little bit. And it's not just as easy as moving the 3-point line back because that'll, cause traffic in the paint, which isn't necessarily the most exciting basketball to watch. So look, it's a 3-point league. That's kind of where we're at with this Denver Nuggets team. And again, I'm not going crazy on tonight's loss because you didn't have Big Honey, you didn't have Aaron Gordon, and Jokic got ruled out before the game, like right before the game. So I feel like their mental psyche was a bit off here tonight. And it was the second night of a back-to-back. So it is what it is in that sense. But looking at the discrepancy, that definitely played a role here in the game tonight. Another thing that factored into this loss here tonight were the turnovers. Denver was absolutely killed on the turnovers, 20 of them tonight. They were in double digits by the time the first half ended. And Houston, Denver conceded 34 points to the Houston Rockets on those 20 turnovers. So that's not going to do you any favors. Houston only had 11 turnovers, and that only resulted in 8 points tonight for the Denver Nuggets. Just sloppy basketball. I mean, Houston had 14 steals tonight. Are you kidding me? 14 steals. They out more assists than Denver, 28-22, out rebounded them 40-36. I mean, again, this was just a losing formula across the board, whichever way you slice it. So it's unfortunate. This could have been a fun marquee type of matchup, between two teams that are vying for, the second best team in the Western Conference, because I don't think anybody's catching Oklahoma City at this point. But, we didn't get that. We were robbed of that here tonight due to no Nikola Jokic and just, frankly, a pretty lackadaisical effort across the board from the Denver Nuggets. So it is what it is. On to the next, Miami on Friday. And I believe Jimmy Butler is eligible to come back after this little spat that he's had with Pat Riley in the front office in that game. So get your popcorn ready. But, like I said, Denver never had a lead in this game. Largest lead tonight for Houston was 24 points. I mean, just what more is there to say? I don't want to beat a dead horse. I mean, this was just a non-competitive game across the board from the Denver Nuggets. So it is what it is. We'll wipe the slate clean it on to the next. But let me hit my final break. When we come back, we'll get ready to put a bow on the show. If you guys got any thoughts, let me know in the comment section. We'll go back and forth here as we get ready to wrap it up on a pretty lackluster performance tonight from the Denver Nuggets right here on your Locked On Nuggets postcast. Back in just a moment, folks. Okay, you guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. Whether you're tidying up, cleaning out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. I'm currently looking for furniture, and their huge selection makes it easy to find pieces that fit my style and my budget. My favorite part, the free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items. Wayfair's site was so easy to navigate, and I found everything I needed in no time. There's something for every style and every home, no matter your space or your budget. Wayfair makes it easy to tackle your New Year's home goals with endless inspiration for every space. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's wayfair.com, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Check out our friends over at Wayfair, guys, and let them know that Locked On Nuggets sent you. Okay, welcome on back into your Locked On Nuggets postcast. I'm your host, Aniello Piro. Hope everyone is doing well out there on this January the 15th night, 2025. Again, you guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP. And if you're watching live on YouTube, appreciate y'all. Do me a favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. That way you guys never, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Nuggets postcast right here on your Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. Again, a tough loss tonight from Denver, a non-competitive game from them. 128-108, your final score. Now, bad loss. The first wall-to-wall loss that we've seen from the Denver Nuggets this season. This ain't nothing like the loss of the Wizards, though. I cannot get that game out of my head. I'm traumatized from that Wizards loss earlier in the year. They had, what 3 games, I think I want to say, before Denver played them and gave them their 4th. Jokic played in that game. I mean, that was just disgusting. They've had some pretty bad losses this year. Knicks at home was bad. Cavs destroyed them, but different vibe, different sentiment that I have coming out of this game than I did those, just because like everything that I've talked about throughout the course of the night here. So we'll see. They'll get back after it here on Friday against the Miami Heat, who are a bit discombobulated. But again, some positivity tonight. Christian Braun, man, doing his thing, 22 points tonight for CB. As I mentioned, 2 of 3 from 3, 4 boards. Jamal, 22 points. So, look, do you want to see more from Jamal? What did I say on the show last night? We want to see Jamal. He's averaging, 14.5 points a game, I feel like, from what I checked last night. Can we get Jamal up to that 22, 23, 24-point mark on average? Because you're going to feel a lot better about Denver's chances if they can keep the firepower coming with Jamal Murray. I mean, he was a total difference maker in that game last night against the Dallas Mavericks. Those 48 points that he scored, looking like the Jamal Murray of old. So I'm not holding tonight's loss against anybody, but it is frustrating. Like I said, it was supposed to be a better matchup than it actually was, but some extracurricular circumstances prevented that from being the case. Russ, 17 points, MPJ, 8 points. And like I said, the young guys got some extended run tonight. Pickett, 18 minutes, only 2 points. Strother, 25 minutes, 10 points. Peyton Watson, 23 minutes with 10 points as well. I mean, Zeke Naji had 6 out of necessity. Hunter Tyson with 8. So this is, like I said, kind of a throwaway game for the Denver Nuggets. Let's chew this one. Let's spit it out. Let's move on to the next here and kind of just forget that this even happened. But Denver now 24-16 on the year, 12-8 at home. Houston improves to 27-12, 13-6 on the road. Houston's been a really fun team this year, man. I feel like a team that doesn't get talked about enough because they lack a little bit of star power. But Houston, look, I think if Denver gets into a 7-game series with them and Jamal's playing well, I feel confident in Denver's ability to take him down. Like Houston's time is still coming, kind of like the Broncos, where you expect, it was fun to see the Broncos in the playoffs, but we expect them to be much better next year because this was kind of the cherry on top, for lack of a better phrase. So we'll see what Houston does. Definitely has the ability to do some damage as they are right now at 27-12, but not a full effort tonight from the Denver Nuggets. But let's take a look here at the upcoming schedule for the fellas. As we mentioned, they'll travel to Miami, a 6 p.m. tip-off Friday night local time in Colorado, that is. Against the Miami Heat. So an 8 p.m. tip-off there in South Beach. That'll be a fun one. And they'll play Sunday afternoon matinee, 4 p.m. tip-off. I guess that's not really a matinee, but non-traditional start time there for Denver. So 2 games in Florida against the Heat or against Orlando. And they come home to face the Philadelphia 76ers with Paul George. What's up with Embiid? I have not been paying attention to the Sixers at all this year. Yeah, he did not play tonight, it looks like, for the Knicks. So, history tells us that Embiid will probably duck that matchup against Jokic, especially because it's in Denver. I saw a funny tweet tonight when Jokic and Gordon were both listed out. Someone, I forget the name, so I apologize if you're listening or watching. I saw someone tweeted out that they quote tweeted the injury post and were like, oh, so this is how it feels to be a Sixers fan. And that gave me a good little laugh because it's true. Is Embiid, is he playing? Is he not playing? What is it? So 2 games in Florida coming up here for the Denver Nuggets. Like I said, at Miami on Friday, at Orlando on Sunday, and then home for 2 games in a row against Philly and Sacramento before traveling to Minnesota. So some interesting games coming up. I mean, this next little 5-game stretch for Denver: at Miami, at Orlando, home versus Philly, home versus Sac at Minnesota. Then they got the Knicks shortly thereafter with Chicago sandwiched in between. Maybe some trade conversations with Arturas Karnisovas when they go to Chicago. We'll see. Zach LaVine rumors, are those going to heat up again? So we'll see what Denver can do here over these next 5 games. But as far as it goes for tonight, it's a 128-108 loss. Control, Alt, Delete. Let's get this game out of our minds, and let's move on to Florida for the Heat and the Magic. But that's really it for me. I don't know what else there is really to say. No Nikola Jokic, no Aaron Gordon, lackadaisical effort, turnovers were a problem. Not enough volume from three-point land. Shout out Christian Braun. So those are my kind of closing thoughts here on the game tonight. So that is going to do it for me, folks. Appreciate y'all as always for tapping in. Make sure to follow me on social media at Media by AP. And on your way out, do me a favor, hit that like button and smash that subscribe button. That way you guys never, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Nuggets postcast. Tough game tonight for the boys. Back at it on Friday. We'll talk to you guys then. Have a good rest of your Wednesday night. And we'll see if the boys can bounce back in Miami.